Buenos días,
Buenos días, ¿qué tal?
Peter. ¿Cómo estás?
Bueno, la verdad es que estoy jodido, pero contento.
Wow. Peter McGrath, my good friend, my God. Listen, I don't want us to sound old because we're getting younger every day.
Every day, Dorian Gray effect.
Dorian Gray effect.
Yeah.
But 150 years ago when we started,
That's probably an accurate number in terms of our combined involvement. You add yours to mine, it's about where we are.
so Peter, it's so good to see you here again. And I think it's we're going through an incredible time in high-end audio at the moment.
Correct.
And obviously, for people who don't know quickly, Peter's got a long, or maybe you want to quickly give us a CV, but everybody knows. But you know, your recording, your dealer experience.
Well, I've been involved in audio since I was 20. I'm now 75, so that's a fairly long period of time. And I started as a retailer selling hi-fi, high-end audio. And then also, prior to even starting that, I met David Wilson in 1971. And we became friends. This is before he even started Wilson Audio. Then I was one of the first dealers, along with Ricardo, to be one of the first distributors. So we have a long history with Wilson. Long before I joined the company, you were already a veteran with Wilson distribution and sales. Then I joined the company about 25 years ago, and am now kind of involved in sales, or I do whatever I want to with Wilson Audio, which is a privilege.
And I believe you've got a couple of perfectionist hobbies, photographic and recording.
Yes, I've been involved as a commercial recording engineer of classical music. I worked for 14 years for record label Harmonia Mundi, making all their recordings in the United States. And I've also owned a couple of record labels. My focus has always been on classical music, particularly in my later age now of chamber music, piano recordings. I founded a record label dedicated to piano in 1979 called Audiophon Records. And we won a lot of good awards, and the goal behind that label was to preserve the artistry of great artists that were to some extent neglected by the big labels. So I feel very proud that we made a contribution that preserved the legacy of some really, really great pianists, all of whom at this point are no longer with us, but the records are, and recordings are.
The reason I wanted to brief our viewers is that I think that in this industry that we are, and you'll agree or disagree, there's too many people that don't know where all this starts with the music, and they go too much on a love of equipment path, love of hi-fi path, without, they love the equipment more than they love the music, and in general, those pieces of equipment don't play music.
I'm afraid I have to agree with you 100%. And when I was involved in the beginning, as you were, what we found, Ricardo and I, we were dealing with people who said, how can I make the sound of a string quartet come alive in my living room? How can I make Mahler in my living room? How can I make Bob Dylan sound like he's singing to me in my living room? That's what drove the passion and the interest. That, unfortunately, has become more of a cliche than a reality. And in fact, we're now living in an age where many of the people selling this stuff, designing it, showing it, I'm going to use a horrible term, but they suffer from musical illiteracy, where they really don't have the connection, whether it be pop, rock, jazz, or in my world, classical music. But I think that's going to turn around. I really have a positive feeling.
I think it's really down to people like you and perhaps companies like mine to show the light and explain them that it's all about this rather than about the love of the equipment. I think that there was a very famous rock artist that says, I don't really like audiophiles because they use our music to play their equipment. So that the equipment becomes, oh, have you heard this through my amp, through my speakers, etc., etc. Whereby you and I were probably from the other school. We keep on trying to bring into the home the the great feeling and sound of live music.
Right, and the, to turn that around a little bit, the goal that I think is the ideal to pursue as it relates to these artists who are is that we would like to use their music to display through good equipment their incredible artistry.
Oh, that's yeah,
And that
that's
is really what happens is to really hear the touch of Andreas Schiff on the piano. You really need a good loudspeaker to be able to get the dynamics of what he can do in a Bach, in any of the music that he plays, or to hear the true dynamics of what Dudamel can do with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. You need good equipment to be able to reflect that. And in that sense, I make no bones. I like to use their music to show off, but to show off their artistry.
artistry, but not to show off your equipment.
No, it's
Okay,
allowed.
but that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
Audiophiles have a tendency
and well,
to.
the problem with the audiophiles is that they don't appreciate it when they hear it. But the music lovers,
Audiophiles, sorry.
the music lovers, however, when you do that, they get it,
Absolutely.
and they get it, and they fall in love, and those are the people that I frankly enjoy most engaging with.
So, uh, back to Wilson Audio.
Yes,
Yeah, we tend to get transported
I'm
into
sorry.
our passion. Back to Wilson Audio. This incredible company that you now been working with for so many years, and you're with a fantastic mentor that we all miss very much.
yeah,
That sets the grounds. I've become very pragmatic over the last few years because you can't be too correct. Has really set the world of high-end loudspeakers. He's the man that has created that concept of the big stage, the great definition, the scale through his original products. Um, and now maybe you should get us a bit of the different episodes that
Sure.
you perceive. Maybe not too long because
I'll be happy to. Basically, as you said, the great founder, that was David Wilson, who founded the company. And what I think sets him apart, and there are a lot of very distinguished and wonderful designers of product, but what sets him apart was two fundamental things. He was a recording engineer, and he knew what the sound of music was. He was passionate about the sound of music and about the performers who made it, and what happens when that sound goes through a microphone. And then his pursuit was how to get that sound back out of the loudspeaker most accurately. That was what David, his goal. And he also had an inventive mind. He knew how to think out of the box. He did not follow all of the conventions of traditional loudspeaker design. He got into elements that most designers never explored in terms of time domain, all kinds of technical things that were the basis of the beginning. Then he was very fortunate to have many children, but one of which followed his father from the time he was 5 to recording sessions.
to the building of speakers as well.
And then worked in the factory, actually assembling them. And then his father brought him in to the management level. And then his dad appointed him as CEO of the company long before Dave got sick. People don't realize that. This was a decision that Dave made for Daryl before even there was any indication that Dave would be leaving us anytime soon. He'd already been thinking about that. And he put Daryl in that position because he trusted Daryl to have the intelligence and the skill to carry on the very thing that he started so many years ago. And by gosh, that has proven to be prescient. That Daryl has more than fulfilled any expectations that his father could possibly have had.
One of your competitors, which should remain nameless because I'm not there to mention names, said to me that it was probably the greatest passing from father and son um, business that we've seen in the high-end audio industry ever. Because there's been a few father and son's business, but generally the son doesn't fulfill the whole the whole program. And in this case, I think we can agree that Daryl has taken Wilson Audio to another level.
You're absolutely right, and it's proven beyond my wildest expectations. Understand, I knew Dave before Daryl even existed, and I saw Daryl grow up, and
So did I. Yeah.
yeah, so we're kind of like grand uncles to Daryl in a way. But what he has achieved and the human being that he has become is astonishing.
Oh, he's a.
Fabulous
I
human being.
recognize a lot of his father there, but that
Yeah,
maybe is not so. Anyway, so the speakers. I mean, I'm just going to have to interact now in our conversation.
sure.
Where I was driving, is that I've heard, and again, I'm not going to mention names of a couple of products that have been designed from ground up from the engineer, and one of them is a phono stage and never listened to, and then put out to the market and charged a fortune for. Uh, what I find now, and you're going to contradict me if I'm wrong, because I don't know everything. Actually, the more I move on, the least I think I know.
That's true.
But
That's called wisdom.
but but what I love about the true high-end company is that the fact that you've got a good engineer that interacts or that is himself in love with music, that has a great passion to go to concerts, to have a record collection, that whatever, but at the same time as all the engineering background. I think that a company that's only driven by engineering, so when I say a perfect high-end audio company has got to have engineers that love music at the same time.
Not only that, what in our case, the way I would define it, others might define it differently, but we have a situation where we have Daryl's crazy ideas. It says, no, Daryl, this can't be done. Or, Daryl, it's a problem, but I'll figure it out. Let's work together.
Fantastic.
And then we have a draftsman, Blake Schmutz, who takes all of the ideas and creates the necessary machinery. It's a small organization. There are companies that have maybe 20 or 30 engineers. We've got a team of about 4 people, including Daryl. And the beauty of it is that they all speak the same language. They share the same passion, the same goals. And Vern has been with us, worked with his father for many, many years before. But what Daryl has done, he's brought to that a sense of empowerment. And then Daryl works with us. We give him feedback of what you want. We give him feedback of what the customer wants. Daryl puts that into his percolator and then does what he wants as it relates to our needs. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely.
And that we don't design by marketing. We design by a synthesis of things.
A true high-end audio.
And we also design in terms of tradition. We are not revolutionary. We are evolutionary. And that's the mark of conservatism. But I think at the end of the day, if you're already on the right path, you don't need a revolution. What you need is an evolution to continue to grow.
That's a good line. Quickly, David has left this incredible legacy, as you know, and
missed every day.
Is missed every day by all of us. So, like Bill Johnson to me as well,
Yes.
and a few of the true icons of
I had the pleasure
founders
of working with Bill.
and the founders of
Yeah.
true high-end audio. Could you quickly put us through from to refresh people's mind of where product range, starting maybe with the little tune tots and going all the way up, so that people can understand what's in the lineup.
We would love to be able to offer speakers in the $4,000 or $5,000 range, which unfortunately we don't, because of the way we build them and the materials. Whether it be small or big, they all use the same materials, same hands that build them, the same craftsmen. Whether we're building a tune tot, which sells for around $10,000, it's the same hands that build our XVXs, which sell in excess of $300,000. So it's the same approach, the same mindset throughout the entire range of products that we make. And starting with the tune tot at around 10, then we have the Sabrina X, which is around 20. Then we have a new product, which there'll be more information coming soon, maybe. Then we have the Sasha DAW, which is, well, Ricardo, you know all the prices as they relate
Yeah,
to.
but I just want you to go up the
Yeah,
scale. So that,
absolutely. Then we have the Alexia V, which Ricardo and I had the recent pleasure of debuting in the UK. Boy, did we have fun. And boy,
oh,
did that knock people's eyes. It was great. That was a lot of fun. Then we have the speaker called the Alex V, which in the US is around $140,000 there. Then we have the XVX, which is well north of $300,000, or $340,000. And we still offer in limited production a speaker called the Wham. And that speaker, in fact, represents the last creative effort of David Wilson. He spent the last 4 or 5 years of his life designing, developing, and basically refining the Wham speaker. And that is a legacy product, limited production. There are still a few available, and they're just, well, by the time you're done, it's just shy of $1 million system by the time you add all the electronics, everything necessary to it.
wow, I mean, the frill is, if you can afford, the frill is there.
That's absolutely correct. But interestingly, again, they're all the same in many ways. Just as you go up the line, they're just more of the good.
More of it. Yeah.
Yeah, more of the good.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. It was very good to talk to you again. And I hope our viewers will enjoy this piece of history and how we progressed over the years to be where we are now.
Well, thank you